2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready.
Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk. Take 3. But anyway, I'm joined with some ladies. Some of them participate in a leadership conference, and we also have Dr. Rosa. She is an author, so we're going to talk a little bit about her book as well. And it's interesting because, matter of fact, Dr. Rosa, introduce yourself and tell us about this book, because this is very interesting. And welcome.
Happy, thank you very much.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have this opportunity to be on your program, so
Okay.
thank you. My name is Rosa Colquitt, and I've spent the last, I would guess, the last 16 or 17 months of my life writing a book about racism in Democratic Party politics. I've probably spent a lifetime in Democratic Party politics, going back to age 17 as a freshman in college.
Okay.
And what I'm finding is, one, there's a lot of literature and a lot of books have been written about racism. It seems like it's kind of an everyday topic. It's part of the fabric of the culture, the society that we live in. But the one book that I know hasn't been written is my story.
Your story. So this
My
is your
story.
story.
So
But
this is my story.
You mentioned something. You mentioned that you start. Reason I said that again because I want our young people, those in the audience and those who are here and watching us, to understand how important it is to start young, getting involved with our politics. Can you speak to that a little bit?
You bet.
Yes.
At 17, well, I want the young people to know that I did something at 17 when I actually didn't know any better. I was a freshman in college, and they wanted someone to be the president of the Young Democrats Club. Well, I didn't know that that position was normally reserved for a senior. And so I volunteered, and they said, well, I guess if she doesn't know any better, we should go ahead and take her.
We're gonna give you a clap praise on that. That's some positive. That's some positive. Absolutely. Yes.
So I did end up, and it was a good year. I learned in my how you do it and why you do it. And I've spent a lifetime, I think, learning from my father, who worked, did a lot of volunteer work in the NAACP, the
Okay.
power of a vote, the
Right.
power of one vote.
Please
And
say
so
that again.
The
because
power of one vote.
Yes,
Your
yes,
voice
yes.
is what matters.
Absolutely.
And so you, if there's anything I could say to the younger generation, never surrender your voice or your vote, because it is very, very important. And while you're not using your voice or your vote, somebody else will do it for you.
Right, because if you're not casting the vote, it's actually going to the other person that you didn't want to be in there.
De
kinda,
facto,
sorta.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, it is.
So let's get back to this. I just want to get that out to our
Okay,
young
back
people.
to
Yeah.
the book.
Yes.
The book is about racism in Democratic Party politics. And the intent of the book is not to be negative. The intent is to build a bridge rather than to burn a bridge, because in some respects I've learned that the party in some sense has kind of lost its moral compass in terms of not dealing with and forthrightly addressing the issue of racism. And what I've learned from my own experience is that this is particularly true as it pertains to black women
Okay.
in Democratic Party politics. It's kind of, we are a group of women, I am, and the women that are with me today.
Yes.
We are women who are committed to serving and working very hard and being faithful and committed to the party. But what I'm finding is that there is a dearth of opportunities in terms of leadership ability. And I'm glad that I know that another of your guests today is Ms. Harris. I'm really
Okay.
happy about that.
Powerful lady.
Powerful lady.
Yes. Yes.
And powerful voice. And I think it's important that if these opportunities are not availing themselves, then we work as a unit to determine why and why not. And we go forth to figure out, well, what do we do about it? We need some resolution. We need to problem solve, because I know that we're stronger with our voice
Right.
than if we are excluded. I don't think that the exclusion is purposeful on everyone's part, but what I do know is that oftentimes there's just not enough attention to the matter of racism in politics. And if we're not a part of what I called a privileged group, I don't think that we should expect them to raise this issue or to deal with the issue or to respond to it, because they may be enjoying their privilege, and it's just, to me, unnatural to expect that they're
Someone
going
else,
to,
yes.
to take on a cause when they may in fact be benefiting. In fact, I know that many are benefiting from the privilege that the majority group has, particularly in Oregon.
Well, you was getting some amen, some yes, some
okay,
nods. Some of the
okay.
ladies joining us is Dr. Cynthia Harris and Miss Overstreet,
Yes.
and also Miss Olive. And I was really struck by one of the ladies is making a change too. And I guess you ladies participate in a leadership conference as well.
Yes.
So let's talk a little, introduce yourself, and let's talk a little bit about that leadership, because I think it goes on with what Miss Rosa was saying about the power and understanding our votes and taking this leadership to another level, particularly for our young people.
So do you want to start with me?
Yeah, please, Dr.
So,
Harris.
so I've been a leader a long time.
Okay.
And I guess from my experience comes out of church. So
Okay.
I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, and they didn't have a lot of people to put in positions, so I was everything. The
Right.
choir director, the youth conference, whatever it was. And so I'm appreciative to that because that gave me the experience. But at the same time, when I was first appointed principal, they didn't have anybody either at the school that wanted to do it. They stuck me in it. Actually, I was the youngest person on the team.
Okay.
So I learned that somebody has to help you and have to support you. So I've had that support. That's actually how I came to Oregon. So what I do is I look wherever I go for young people who I think have leadership abilities, and I try to expose them to what's going on. So I'm aware that Rosa is really trying to bring knowledge and color. She's trying to deal with people of color in leadership, so I try to support her where I can. And she recently had this leadership piece, and she brought together a lot of the people that were running. I don't know, they didn't have to be minorities, did they? They didn't have to be people of color.
Not people participating, but we certainly wanted to highlight the issue of black leadership.
Yeah, so we wanted to highlight that. So there were a lot of people of color, and I got a chance too to see what's positive and what's not positive. So one of the things I see as people move forward with leadership is they need to be more trained in public speaking and in knowledge. They should study what they're going to speak. I noticed I went to a lot of panels, and a lot of the people of color weren't prepared. So I'm especially excited about what Rosa is doing with her book and what she's doing in life, period. She's looking for people to highlight and team. And I'm learning something more. Like I met a leader who you're going to have on today, Miss Harris, at the City Club, and I had no idea who she was. But she made a statement, and it got my attention, and I've been supporting her ever since. That got my attention. So I think when we see people of color with quality, we need to get behind them.
Right.
Yes.
And next to you is Miss Overstreet? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. My name's Kanisha Overstreet.
Kanisha,
Kanisha.
thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
I come from a background of law enforcement, 9 years veteran. Currently own my own business called Empowering People for Success.
Wow. Okay.
Being a
Let's
veteran.
give her a clap, please. We love to hear that. Yes. Yes.
So with my experience in law enforcement, empowering people for success for me means, and what I got from the leadership, more from the leadership, was giving the people the tools for them to succeed. Everybody's success is different. So with that being said, the leadership I seen that night was my first time going. I was very excited. I'm very happy to know that they're reachable. You can go and ask them questions. They're willing to help. And it was an awesome evening for me to be there to experience and meet senators and they gave me resources that I could use for my own business to help me grow. So I that's what I took away from that leadership meeting was they're there to help and they will help, but you also have to go out and seek and do the work. Like Ms. Rosa is doing and Dr. Harris is doing. And I'm their mentor and they're mentoring me, and I'm very appreciative of them.
You mentioned something about law enforcement. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because, in our community, we got this myth We got other stuff going on.
Yes.
You see? But you know what I mean? And so that got to stop because we need everybody in every aspect of the United States. I mean, from
Correct.
every government. So can you speak to law enforcement and what that is like for you to be a part of that?
8 years in Texas. Got injured, so now that was an injury, so now I'm no longer active. But my business, I'm working currently with an assistant U.S. DOJ attorney because
Okay.
I have a reentry plan that they are interested in.
Beautiful.
And also partnering kind of with the Portland Police Academy. Training Academy is what I'm trying to do because bringing from black women coming from Texas and then coming to Oregon, Oregon is a country club compared to where I got my training.
Gotcha. And
So
you don't mean country, you mean like nice.
nice.
Yes.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
they are super nice.
Yes.
And so, yes, it's a challenge. And what I try to do with my business when I ask, mine is a consulting business. So what I'm
Okay.
looking for is people to hire me to come and help them with that. So I work with young teenagers and understand from the citizen point of, it's a challenge for women to make rank.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so one thing I want to see Portland do is allow the community to come in when they're hiring officers, when they're doing promotions, and what that does, that allows citizens to have a say in who's getting hired.
Okay.
And that's something that I
Yes.
would promote.
Okay, we appreciate that. Miss Olive, is that right?
Yes.
And your program is called Working Hard for a Change. Not just change, but you said working hard for a change.
Working hard for a change.
Touch on that a little bit.
Yes.
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 I've been around and serving in my community since 2004. When I
Give us that. Absolutely.
I started with an organization called Oregon Action
Okay.
that is now merged with Unite Oregon, and I was under the leadership of Joanne Hardesty, who was Joanne Bowman back then.
Okay.
Johnny Gage and Kate Titus.
Okay.
And when I started with the organization back in 2004, I also was going to school to become a medical assistant at Concord. And that kind of was that was very challenging for me because of the fact that I graduated, but then after graduation, I was on a waiting list to try to get a job. So I ran into Johnny and he was like, "Hey, Shannon, I'm with this organization." I was really excited. So when I got in with Oregon Action, I went through a leadership development training. And at that time, it was John Kerry and President Bush, the election. And after I went through the leadership training, I was on the ground running now because I saw something in me that I never knew that I had. So, and it was more or less of really getting out in the community and investing in our community in a way where our voices are heard. So in that year, I registered alone 1,000 people for that. And so from there, I went on and I just continued to work. I was also the chair for the Portland Refinance Reform, which is Amanda Fritz. She run under that.
Okay.
And I was really excited for that because that's what got me started into really wanting to see myself as an elected official. And since then, I've been on the run. I went back to school. I was able to go back to school. I've worked in a lot of nonprofit organizations. I've worked in different agencies, social services, graduated in 2015 with my associate's degree. My major is criminal justice, but then God allowed me to be able to, later on down the years, I also have my own business as well. An organization
That's a
is called
networking
Women's
right there,
First
yes.
Transition
Absolutely.
and Referral Center, and we're working to serve justice-involved women and women in recovery. Our primary focus is African Americans, but we're open and willing to serve a woman that's seeking transformation in her life. So with the fact that started off in 2004 and we're in 2018, there's still change to come. I mean,
Yes.
we have a lot of change that needs to happen in our community, but I'm going to continue to keep working until that change comes.
Working hard.
Working hard.
I hear the passion from each one of you ladies. If you ladies don't mind, I'm going to start with you, Miss Olive, and kind of share where your passion comes from.
Well, my passion come from my my experience in life. my own experience, the experience that I had as a child growing up in foster care. You know, my father passes away. My mom was addicted to drugs. And as I got older, when I went into foster care, I went to 3 foster homes. The third home that I went to, it was Mother Palmer, Maldale Palmer. She took me in as if I was her own child.
That's beautiful.
And I lived there for 8 years, from 7 till I was 15 years old. And after I left there, I went through a stream of just different things, you know, in my life. My kids getting taken with the state, you know, me being a part of the street life and stuff like that, struggles that I went through. But even with that, even with the things that I went through in my life and understanding the challenges that my own family faced, I still felt like, you know, there's something that I want to be able to do to help somebody else.
Right, we can feel it when you say it, yes.
You know, and so that's the passion that I have. Of even when I was growing up in the church, I was on the missionettes, usher board, all those things. Love to help the mothers. So just now, it's a part of who I am.
Right.
It's my purpose in life is to help someone else.
Now, is Ms. Palmer still with us?
She's still here.
Well,
She's
let's just shout out to you, Ms. Palmer. Absolutely. Yeah. We appreciate you, Ms. Palmer. If you would.
For me, my passion comes from I was raised by my grandparents. My mom, my biological mom, also was on drugs, and so he was born in 1936 in Louisiana, migrated to California, Southern California, was the first black business owner of a strip mall, licensed gun dealer in Linwood.
Guns?
Licensed gun. He was the first. And he also sold sporting goods, so fishing, groceries, and all that. And so in the community, I learned from him, he had the old school tally. If you didn't have the money, he'll let you go get groceries, and he'll write it down. By the time my dad retired, his whole book was paid off.
Oh,
so that allowed me to still have passion. And when I went into law enforcement, I did the same thing. I still had passion for people. Just because I wore a uniform, I did not see myself better than anyone else.
Yes.
I have 2 twin young boys in Texas that I took under my wings.
Okay.
And so, needless to say, one was the bad twin and the other one was the good one that I really assisted. And he ended up graduating, Job Corps, married with kids, and doing really, really well. To Texas.
You know where you are.
And that's where the passion for my business came in, empowering people for success, because I seen that. I have that with especially young teens, 17 to 24 is my group that I work with.
Yes.
And just giving them those tools to see that you can do it. Because sometimes their home life is not what it is. But they just need somebody to care. Yes. And that's where my passion comes from, because my grandparents instilled in me that passion, that love. It doesn't matter what color you are, what ethnicity you are. Be compassionate. Have some compassion. And I was born and raised in Church of God in Christ as well all my life, so that goes with it too. But even if you don't have church, even if it's not your affiliate, you still need compassion. And so that's where my passion comes from.
We appreciate that. Dr. Harris, where's your passion come from?
I guess God and my mother.
Okay.
My mom's mom died when she was 4 years old, so she grew up without a parent, and her father raised these 7 kids. Her mother died in a fire, and there was a set of twins. So I saw that my mom had a hole in her life her whole life, and that's why the missionaries at the church kind of took her under wings, and she was strong and she was a missionary. So she wanted her girls to be educated. So we all were highly educated. So a lot of the passion I got from her, but to do good I got from God, because I always wanted to do good, right? So no matter how bad people are doing, I'm going to be the one in the group that's going to be doing good. So I'm always, so in my life, I never really had to fight for any job. I've always been placed and given jobs. The only issue I had was when I came to Oregon. I was so far ahead of everybody. Everybody always trained with me. The superintendent sent me on Lear jets and everything. And I had a different lifestyle than everybody, because I was always chosen, always selected. So I think that came from God. I don't think anybody could do that. So I'm ahead all the time, and I don't have any arrogance about that. I know God gave that to me. I have the gift of working with people. I'm always the best everywhere I go, and I know it.
Okay.
So,
Well, go ahead on. We're going to clap her. She's confident. All right. She's confident. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with being confident. Yeah. You ain't arrogant. You're just confident, right?
Coming to Oregon was very interesting because the
Yeah.
people here are not like that. You know, they don't seem to have that kind of confidence, and they are more competitive.
Right.
So I've learned to be patient here in Oregon, and I observe a lot.
Right.
And when I can help them shape up a little bit, I try to. But when I can't, I decided to move on. So I think that the passion comes from doing good and doing God's will, doing what He wants you to do, and not having an issue with it. You don't have to be in all that competition. You can just do good, and then your way will always be made. So I don't worry about it. I didn't go there to get here. They came after me twice. So I know I got here because they brought me here, not because I did anything.
Okay.
So I'm clear about that. And
Right.
so it continues to happen to me. That's how the house I live in, somebody found me, hey, this is your housing lottery. Okay, thank you. So I learned to be grateful for what God has given me because I know it didn't come from myself, that it came from Him. So that's my passion. And I don't live that religiously. I live it not because it's a denomination, but it's a spirit, and God is all in us. It's in our mind. And when I see people, one of the sad things I have about the people of color is the competition that they have and their inability to know that everything is theirs, and we can all need to work together. So that's my passion. I live that, I be that, and I model that.
We appreciate that. Now, Doctor.
It's okay, I'm Rosa.
Where your passion come from to write this book about my story?
Compelled to tell my story.
But you touching on racism and democracy.
Yes, racism and democratic.
Where that come from? Where that passion come from?
Well, I think I've spent a lifetime, Tony, of living by a motto that it's Dr. King, but I learned it from my own father, and that was the idea that not everyone could be famous, but everybody can be great because you can help someone else.
Say that again.
Not
That was
beautiful.
beautiful.
Can be famous, but everybody can be great,
Can be great.
because you can help and you can serve others. And I think an example of that is even today, I didn't choose to come alone. I
Okay,
chose
absolutely,
to bring part of the
absolutely.
sisterhood with me.
Absolutely,
I am
yes.
very concerned about the plight of black women. And I think a lot of it ushers in from, I think sometimes we fail to understand the power of the political structure and the political system in our lives, because everything does really come forth from that.
From that,
Everything is sort of a byproduct of it, if you will. And so from my parents, it's whatever you accomplish in life, it doesn't mean a whole lot if you haven't taken the time and the energy to reach back and help someone else.
Oh my goodness.
In
yes,
other words,
yes.
if it's just Rosa standing on the mountaintop, then what that means is that I'm alone.
You're alone.
And if I've reached back, as people reach back to help me when I was a kid coming up, then that means that we are a community. And I love the teachings of Dr. King that what we build, we have to build community.
Community, yes.
And one of the things now that has motivated me with respect to the publication of the book is that community is weak and community is being harmed by acts of racism.
Right.
And a lot of people say, well, it's like poverty, it's always going to be with us. But that's not a reason to acquiesce to the racism. We have to respond to it. And I think we need to do it in a community fashion. But even if we don't do it in a community fashion, I think one individual can be a spark. And unless people know, I served as a county party chair for the Democratic Party of Washington County. And when I tell my story, I think a lot of people are going to find it unbelievable that I was able to even personally endure it.
Oh
But
my
I
goodness,
think
okay.
in telling the story, I'm hoping to build bridges and not burn them. But I do think it's important. And I can tell you one thing, that is a very uncomfortable topic for
Right.
most.
For most people,
And
yes.
so,
Yes.
but when you talk about black leadership, the idea that there isn't an element of racism is really nonsense.
Right. You know,
So, yeah.
our time is winding up, and there was something you said, and I would like you to come back. You all of you ladies come back and just we'll just follow up on what you're doing with your programs and help get this information out. But something you touched on, you said that it's about the health issue.
The health.
Yeah, health. That it's not high blood pressure.
Oh, that's
that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's one chapter in
Yes.
the book. There is a chapter in the book about racism is killing black women.
You said it's more than high blood pressure and diabetes.
Cancer, diabetes,
That's pretty
and
powerful.
stress.
That's pretty
Stress
powerful.
is very, very powerful.
Yes.
And when we are confronted daily with challenges, whether it's on your job, on your church, in your community, within the political structure, the stress is really harmful to all of us. And that's another reason we need to build community, so that I'm a support system for Cynthia, that I can be one for Kenesha, that I can be one for Shannon, and that they can be for me as well. But working in isolation, I think, is very harmful to the community. But that's I think I gave you an outline of the manuscript. But the sixth chapter talks about the fact that racism is killing black women.
Our time is winding up. How can they get the book, or when it's going to be launched out?
It's scheduled for November publication. It's completely done, except I haven't written the foreword because I'm trying to determine who I'd like to write it. You want to write that, Tony? I'm just kidding.
I'm not, I don't want to commit to something I can't do. Right? What I can do, you can come on Straight Talk and talk about it. I can't commit to that. Miss Dr. Rosa, it was a pleasure. Dr. Cynthia Harris, Miss Shannon, Miss Oliver. Did I get it right? Olive.
Overstreet.
Overstreet. You get to Pastor Overstreet?
No.
Okay, that's an Overstreet.
No, that was
He is the president of the NAACP, State of Washington. And our goal in Straight Talk is a network and bring Oregon with Washington, California with Washington, all the way from the East Coast. But today we have them from Washington.
From Vancouver,
Vancouver.
Washington, just to be clear.
So to be clear, not from D.C., Washington, Vancouver.
Vancouver, Washington.
Welcome, Miss Bridget, and we thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And also joining us is Miss Bora Harris. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the political piece. She always comes in and shares a little bit about, and she's been doing some good stuff too. But
Good.
let's share a little bit about the NAACP and what's going on over in Washington.
Well, we want to really announce our Juneteenth celebration.
Well, go ahead and announce
which is
it.
happening
Yes,
on
ma'am.
June 23rd
Okay.
at Clark College. And this year our theme is, where do we go from here?
Ooh.
Because we have had
You got a lot of up in the house on that one. Yes.
we've had a lot of really anti-African American, anti-immigrant incidences in Clark County.
Oh my goodness.
And so
Yeah.
we are really having a struggle.
Okay.
And so we want to call the leaders in our community to a panel and ask them, where do we go from here?
Okay.
And what are we going to do together to solve these issues so that our colleges and our schools are safe?
Let's say. Now, I was reading, I think you sent me some information that says we shall overcome. And is that from Dr. King as well?
Yes.
And also, where do we go from now? He had a book that talked about that.
Right.
Where did your passion come from? What got you involved with the NAACP?
Well, my great-grandmother was a member of the NAACP.
Yes.
And so my
yes.
grandmother and grandfather were members, and my mother. So justice was something that was
You
taught
don't
to
mind
me
if we give
early.
them a clap praise? Because we really don't have no idea what they went through.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I think the NAACP is a legacy.
Okay.
I mean, it started in 1909, and it's still going today.
My goodness.
And
yes.
it will still go past today after this current administration. I really believe I always call him he's a drop in our ocean.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
So we'll be past him soon.
Okay.
But at the same time, we do have to address the injustice that's going on in our country. And it's happening, it's trickling down to our local communities. I think every community is affected by this hate that's been going on. And so our Juneteenth celebration is a way of really addressing that issue and inviting our community to come and celebrate our freedom.
Okay.
Because you know how Juneteenth started was,
Bring it on down. Let the people know.
in
Yes.
Texas,
Okay.
the people were 2 years after they found out, after slavery ended, they weren't told for 2 years.
Okay.
So Texas,
Now, okay.
Yeah.
I want people to get a visual of
Yes.
that. Now, it was passed in Washington, is that
It
correct?
was passed all over the United States.
All over the United States,
But in Texas,
but
in Galveston, Texas.
Galveston's Texas. It took them 2 years
It took
for
them 2 years, and the Union soldiers had to come down
Okay.
and say to let them know that you're free. You've been free for 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
And it was what they call instant celebration after that. And so ever since then, around the country, African Americans have celebrated that freedom.
That freedom,
And
yeah.
that freedom is important to express. And we always talk about freedom, but if we don't vote, and I'm going to push voting, what's
No,
the
you
point?
can't push
You know,
voting.
I mean, I don't.
Right.
we
People
have
need
to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to vote. And I think 2 lies have been put to rest through this administration, which I'm grateful for. One is that it doesn't matter who you vote for.
Okay.
That's a lie.
Right.
And the other one, it doesn't matter if you vote. That's a lie.
Right.
So this is, he has given us those 2 lies put to rest.
Okay.
So everybody has to vote.
Got to vote.
I'm into it.
Get the date again on the Juneteenth.
The
so people
Juneteenth
know- and where it's
celebration
located?
is
Okay.
June 23rd. It's in Vancouver, Washington at Clark College. It starts at 1 o'clock. And we're going to have an opening ceremony where we give awards to students.
Okay.
We have students who have been president of the BSUs at different high schools.
Oh, that's
And we're
beautiful.
giving them the Val Joshua Award for their service.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So please come.
Any other events going on? You had a recent one called
My Black is Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah,
And
touch
that was
on
a
that.
great
Yes,
event. And that was
yes.
also addressed to the hate crimes that have been going on. We had a couple of dolls hung up in our trees that were
goodness.
lynch style, black dolls. They had dolls and monkeys, and they thought that was whatever they thought it was.
Right.
So we addressed that by having a positive event as My Black is Beautiful at the same park.
Okay.
And we said it really loud, and we put a whole bunch of music on. A lot of black women came up and said why they're beautiful, and the children came up and said they were beautiful. It was a wonderful event.
That's huge. Speaking about the community, joining us is Ms. DeBoer Harris. Please share a little bit what you've been doing and what's going on right now.
Okay, like
In the
Marvin
political
says, what's
field, yeah.
going on?
What's going on?
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
first of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Brown, for giving myself and other candidates the opportunity, all of us, to be on your show during the primary, prior to the
it's
primary election.
my pleasure.
Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure.
Okay? And I'm going to shout out a big thing, first of all, since thanks to Multnomah County, since I do have the airspace right now. Thank you for your votes. I received over 19,500 votes. I was only in the race for 2.5 months.
Oh my goodness.
And that was awesome. It was very encouraging, very encouraging. Like I told everybody, whether my votes or my voice, I'm still going to win. So I declare myself a winner. And I'm not sitting down on the stairs, okay? One of the things I noticed is that our communities need to be better informed of the importance of voting in the primary. And that's something that I'm working on, is finding places and spaces and a way to educate the community. Yes, the elections office puts out information on websites, on social media, but how many people, especially in our community, have access to that, even have the time, you know,
Right,
to pull
gotcha.
information. You know, they're so busy working 2 jobs, looking after grands and looking after this health. So I want to find opportunities within maybe the districts to bring during times, maybe in the evenings, to educate people on the voting process. We know
Okay.
what voting is, because while I was out there, I noticed some of the questions that people would ask me is, how do I identify if a candidate is Democrat or Republican?
Okay.
Because some have actually said, I only want to vote for Democrats, or I only want to vote for Republicans. So I shared with them the slate cards, and when I had slate cards, I would find a way to give them slate cards. They even put out some of the slate cards that identified, well, since I'm a Democrat. So my slate cards told them who was Democrat.
Right,
So if you
okay.
didn't see them on that meant it's the other side.
Now
you know,
share a
they
little
have
bit
that
what
choice.
slate cards mean so people understand. Yeah.
Slate cards are usually put out by a particular party, Democrat or Republican, and it lists the candidates, for instance, in Multnomah County in the state, who are registered as Democrats,
Okay. Okay.
or whatever organization if you're registered as that. So then because most times in the voters pamphlet, it'll have nonpartisan, and people don't understand what nonpartisan unless someone self-identifies that they are a particular party. So those slate cards identifies that you're in this particular party.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Another question, some commented, I'm going to wait until November 2018 for the election. I want you to know that your candidate may not be there in 2018 in November.
Right.
So it's so critical to
Right.
do your voting, get in the primary to
Right.
make sure that your candidate either wins or they are in a runoff in that election. In this particular, and a candidate has to win at the close of the election, not when the final tallies are later on, weeks later, by 50 plus 1, by 51% in order to be that winning candidate. And this year, the eligible voters from Multnomah County, there was 513,532 eligible voters. The ballots received were 158,725, which was a little higher than before. I believe it was like 30.91% of voters. As of today, there are 1,217 ballots under review. Under review means that maybe if someone turned in a ballot and the signature didn't match. And I've had people to ask, what can I do because I've had an affliction in my hand. I'm a senior, gotten a little older, my signature's changed. They'll send it back to me a couple times. So I share with them, this is what you need to do, then you won't have those woes anymore. Even if someone has to take you down to the elections office so they can set it up and you won't have those situations. But those are things, missing signatures. The ballots accepted were 157,708. The next ballot update for Multnomah County is May 30th. So if you check the elections division May 30th, then my total may very well be higher than what it is.
Well, we know it's going to be a little higher. We know it's going to be higher. It's going to be higher.
Moving on. Another question, things that we want to consider is reminding the voters to sign that envelope.
Sign, okay.
If you've checked everybody you want, but if you do not sign that envelope, it's not valid.
Good information.
It's not going anywhere.
Yes.
And the next election is November
6th.
2018. That's when the general election is. Make sure you get out.
The 6th?
6.
November 6th. November 6th. Okay.
And the last two items I'm going to cover are in Multnomah County, in the city of Portland, there was a runoff in the city of Portland. I'm going to begin this part with there were 2 intellectual, well-qualified females for Portland City Commissioner District 3. Then secondly, I would say they were black females. So often we tend to say, oh, there was blacks who were in the runoff. No. In order to be in the runoff, I view them as intellectual. Look at our mind. And then the color, yes, we don't have any control over the color that we're in, and we're proud of the color that we were birthed in and the womb we came out of. But please identify the women as intellectual women.
Ladies, you said to do that, ladies. Intellectual. Go
so
ahead.
Those were Joanne Hardesty received. Joanne Hardesty received as of May 21st. The last count, Joanne Hardesty received 56,045 votes, which is 46.34%. Loretta Smith, as of May 21st, her total votes received were 25,567, which was 21.14%. And the Multnomah County Auditor is going to be in a runoff also. Jennifer McQuirk with 53,508 votes as of the 21st, which is 43.43%. And Scott Learn with 50,049, which is 40.62. The most important thing is you can't complain. I won't complain if you don't go out and vote.
Go ahead, yes. She hit that note too, didn't she? Yes. Ms. Bridges, it's a pleasure. Anything Straight Talk can do, let us know. We might try to grab a camera and come out there.
That'd be great.
Would you like that?
Yes.
We'll see if we can grab a camera, come out there and interview some people and capture that moment, because that's history. Ms. Boyer-Harris, we always appreciate when you come in and do Beneath the Rose.
Beneath the Rose.
Please
That means what happens beneath the rose in the city of Portland, Multnomah County. Sometimes that's my trademark, so don't take it to anybody. So the rose, everyone looks at the rose as being beautiful, which it is, but when you lift that rose and beneath the rose, so, all the ugly things are under there. Thank you.
Boy Harris, y'all. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Yeah, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Joining me are two young ladies that participated in the DACA program, the Dr. Audrey Terrell's Institute. And we're just going to talk to a little bit about their journey and what it means to be a part of that program and where they're headed. With me is Miss Bianca, is that correct? And Miss Kavina? Both of you have an interesting story, but how did you get involved with that type program?
Well, I was at Park Girls High School, and they had this like a little event saying that this woman was going to come talk to us and basically inspire us and to help us move forward in life. So I was interested and was actually in the library, and there was like food and snacks for us, and she just came, started talking to us, and that's when I got inspired and wanted to like be a part of the program because I wanted to like be better for myself and in my life.
Absolutely, absolutely. We like that. We really like that. Now, from my understanding, you're so inspired. You're now the president of the
Black Student Union at Park Girls High School.
How's that going for you? And what did it mean to step into those shoes?
At first, I was like really nervous because, you know.
Now, whose shoes did you step into?
My sister's.
Okay.
Because usually she's the type of person that's like more, like that talks more, you know. I kind of just broke out of my shell just recently about this. So when I was the president, it was kind of hard for me in the beginning because I'm so nice. So like everybody kind of
she's so
took advantage
nice.
of me. And,
Dr. Harris.
and like after a while, you know, just getting used to it and getting like used to the environment and just being around the kids that actually really wanted to be in there, I just, you know, decided to open up. I decided to open up with each of the kids and be like more of a family. Like we're more of a family than like anything. More people are starting to wanting to come to BSU also. Something new that we're doing is being part of the multicultural night, which we don't usually do. So I'm doing that this year. It's gonna be like our second year doing this. Yeah. So I'm gonna do that. Also, we just recently did an assembly, Black Student Union assembly at our school.
Oh, that was powerful.
Yeah.
That was powerful. That was definitely powerful. Y'all put that on.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah, I ran the program. It went really well, and after that, I was just like, it was a breath of fresh air because it's like I did it. Like I know I can do it now, and I'm capable of it.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. And tell us the young brother that did the Black National Anthem and the young other brother that did the rap. We look forward to them coming on.
Yes.
Because when you hear these brothers do their thing, it's powerful and it's good to hear. Join us, Miss Kavina. And you got quite the story too. How did you get involved with DATA?
Dr. Audrey Terrell and my foster mother at the time actually attended Emmanuel Temple together. Okay. And so she kind of told her my story, and I think it might have been like the first or second like women's luncheon that she had, but she awarded me with like an achievement award, so that's how I initially got it.
Okay then. So were you a freshman, senior?
I was a senior.
And what school were you?
I graduated from De La Salle North Catholic.
Okay. So what you doing now?
So now I just completed my sophomore year at the University of Kansas.
Okay. Now, did you get some scholarships for that?
Yes, I did. I got a few like local scholarships, and I got like a 4-year housing scholarship there, which is really what is keeping me there. Because like, you know, college is expensive, so yeah.
From my understanding, you was one of the first receivers, I guess, awardees of DAT, the Dr. Terrell Institute program. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a clap. Absolutely. So you're doing at University of Kansas right now.
Okay, so I'm double majoring in anthropology, which is the study of humans, and
She
then
said, okay, I'm double major.
yeah, and then
No, go ahead.
and then my second major is African and African American studies with a concentration in Arabic and Islamic studies.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Yes.
yeah. Initially, when I got to KU in Lawrence, Kansas,
Okay.
I was really homesick and nervous. So I made it my point to join the Black Student Union. So I was a part of their general body. And then that year I ran and I was elected as the vice president.
Do you think a lot of that came from coming through this DAT type program and being around other youth, being inspired, as these ladies were saying, inspiring each other in the leadership?
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yes.
The program is definitely about, mentoring the youth and exposing them and showing them that these are, leaders who look like you in these different positions that you can be in eventually. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what was it like for you as a student? Because Bianca, you're getting ready to graduate and going to college, and you're already in college. Speak to our youth about what that transition is like, making that move, because it's a big one.
It definitely is. So, specifically in my case, moving over 1,000 miles away.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It was hard.
Right.
It was really hard.
What was the hardest thing about it?
Just being far away from, family and friends and,
Yes.
trying to find my place on campus and what, my role should be. So.
Okay. Sound like you found it. You're president, Madam President?
Yeah, the president. I'll be the president in the fall, so.
You kind of stepped into that, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you come, how long are you back? Like 30 days or something like that?
Until the first week of August.
So when you see your friends, what do you kind of share with them about continuing their goals and pursuing their careers and just staying steadfast, just continue to do their thing?
I think it's most important to let them know that the journey is definitely going to be hard, but you have to stay focused and find the motivation within yourself, because you can't look to other people to do things for you. So you have to, just stay motivated and, know that you'll reach your goals and dreams with all the hard work.
Yeah, you got to. Miss Bianca, from my understanding, you received a scholarship.
I did.
Let's talk a little about the, because I see the certificate. Let's talk a little bit about that.
It's the Al Forthen Scholarship.
Okay.
And so what it was about, it took a lot of work.
We're gonna clap for this. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So it's up to $10,000 for a scholarship to win this, and
my goodness.
it took a lot. It took me about, I want to say, almost 2 weeks to actually finish the paper for it, because I had to research and do essays. It was multiple essays. It just took a lot more work than my usual scholarships that I do. But this one was mainly about drug abuse and you being around it, and just basically telling my story to them. So they reach out to kids who's been in those kind of environments where they dealt with drug abuse and just reckless homes, and they want to be able to help those kids. So they give the kids these scholarships and help them move forward. And actually we had a ceremony, and there was kids telling their stories about how they lived and how drug abuse really affected them in life.
Yes.
And I was just so warmed, and I felt like I can relate to them in so many ways. And they're all so strong, and being that they're still trying, like me, still trying to get scholarships, still trying to go to college, it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to them, I know. And I just thank the people who gave me the scholarship, because I can actually really move forward with my life, and the more scholarships is more better for me.
Now, this is from Volunteer America. Shout out for them, and we appreciate it. The staff over there, the board members, everybody that put this together and stepped up. I guess it was very powerful for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Bianca, Kavina, ladies, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us Straight Talk know whatever we can do to follow you, okay?
Thank you.